These people are marching in the crusade for children, which is to get more money if you're living on welfare payments. Their problems are serious, and they are neighbours fighting together to try to get things done. Mrs. Catherine Dunbar is their leader, and it was her idea to get the people from the neighbourhood together to march in protest. Marching with Mrs. Dunbar as one of her neighbours and supporters is Dwight Eastman of Chicago. He is there because he really cares about the difficulties in which Mrs. Dunbar and thousands like her find themselves. Dwight was not the organizer of the demonstration. Darrell Lewis is from San Francisco, and he also is a neighbor of Mrs. Dunbar. Darrell did not organize the demonstration either.
I have 4 children. I have to feed, clothe, almost $93 every 15 days. I'm living in a house that was left by my parents, and this house is run down. I have no furnace. I've been putting bricks in the bottom of my furnace for 3 years in order to keep a fire. I asked my caseworker about getting a grate in the stove or to allow some money for the grate. He said he was sorry, nothing could be done.
Dwight and Darrell spend little time at demonstrations downtown. They are Vista volunteers, and for the past year, this has been their neighborhood. Vista, Volunteers in Service to America. There are about 2,500 Vista volunteers. That's the home equivalent of the Peace Corps in the United States today. And about 70 of them are in Philadelphia, and just 2 of them are Darrell and Dwight. To do this job, they're not paid very much money, and during their year of service, they have to live in the neighborhood where they work. They're trying to help people to do things for themselves, and in their West Philadelphia neighborhood, there's quite a lot to be done. One person who has managed, with the help of Dwight, to do something for the teenagers in the neighborhood is Mrs. Sadie Hughes. Mrs. Hughes, what have you done to try to help the kids on this block?
Well, I hope I've helped by trying to get some of the boys off the street, get them in here, play instruments, and while they're here, as soon as the crowd gets in and gets to playing real good, I tell them it's prayer time, they get up to pray. Then I go into a lecture, not all the time, but sometimes if I catch too many of them smoking, but I'm not allowed to have them smoking in here.
Are you worried about the kids?
Well, to an extent. I worry when there seems to be a border you can't reach. I worry about this a lot because it's my belief that we ought to get along better than this. So when I You just shouldn't have the heart to want to kill, you know, because a fellow lives around the corner. And my God, everybody can't live on 40th Street or 39th Street. And it's a shame that a fellow, if he walks on 41st Street, he has to be killed, stabbed, or even ganged because he has to walk out of the neighborhood. You can't stay in the neighborhood all the time. And it seems to be a thing I don't know whether it's really hatred or whether they really get a fiendish glee out of this. I don't know whether they get some kind of enjoyment for it. But anyway, when they come in here, it's a different atmosphere. They all get along together as long as they're here. This is understood. They come here for a reason, peace.
To win the war on poverty, one of the most important things must be communication. Most of us can't talk and relax with kids in the street, but after almost a year, Darrell and Dwight can.
And you don't know what happened.
I heard what happened.
You know the story.
There were two.
It's true, I went up the steps. I didn't run. I didn't run. I put it that way. I didn't run. I didn't run. I put it that way.
You talking about I stayed in the shoe shop, shoe repair shop, became a shoemaker for 2 years and 4 months, and then went to downtown and stayed there for 2 years. What y'all know about? Sure. Now, you think this all a lie, but I can take you around there and
Get the best training the state could offer.
But I don't want no job in no shoe shop or no shoe factory.
You know, I mean, they gave you a training job, and you don't want to do that.
Nope.
Yeah.
As well as working with young people, Dwight often has to help older people solve their problems. Mrs. Coleman, for example, has trouble over her rent.
And I'll come by around 4 and maybe we can get this whole thing cleared up. But she said that the unfit for human habitation business on this house should have gone through. And then they can get you moving money.
Thank you.
They can get you moving money and all kinds of good stuff.
I sure appreciate it.
So
I was going to so much in here, I'm telling you, it's sickening.
I brought that letter to send to the landlord, just so that we'll be covered, just so in case there is trouble.
I wouldn't be covered. He's covered already. They told me there's nothing he's going to do in here.
Anyway,
He hasn't done anything since I've been here.
I know, but what this would just do is, in case he got mad that you hadn't paid your rent, this would mean,
Man, why didn't you come and tell me? I would have.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but this would just say that, I have tried,
That
and
was
it
up
would
to
be down
him.
right.
I've tried, I did. I paid while I'm saying her.
I know.
What can I do? Run him down?
Okay, well, look, all this says is, because of the confusion on where to send my rent money, I would like to have you send a letter explaining what you expect.
I know what he
You
said.
said that you were going to stop by and talk about the repairs that the inspector was asking you to make, but you never did, and he didn't. He didn't do anything. And I did not understand what's happening, which is really true. So I figured we just, this is not tracking him down. It's just covering you.
Well, thank you.
Do you want to sign this? And we can send
No, I'm
it
going
out
to sign nothing. I'm afraid to sign anything.
Well, you read it over.
I'm afraid to sign anything because I don't know what to do.
Well, I don't blame you. But, you see, this doesn't commit you to anything.
I'm not going to sign anything.
All right.
But
I think you
until
make
they bring me
a
the
mistake.
papers, I can get out. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Well, I'm coming by 4 o'clock tomorrow with a lady named Mrs. Lowe from she's taking over for your case.
Fine.
Maybe we can get the whole thing just done
I hope
and
so.
complete.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
Dwight Eastman is 22 years old, and his parents live in a suburb of Chicago. After graduating from college in Massachusetts, he decided he wanted to break from the ordinary life which he lived in Chicago, and to help people who need to be shown how to make things work for themselves. So he trained for 6 weeks and joined Vista. His first assignment has been in West Philadelphia, where he works in a small area from Spring Garden Street to Brown Street, between 37th and 40th Streets. Dwight feels that the work that he is doing is of vital importance to make conditions better for the people who live in his area. for people who need and want the kind of help that he is able to give them. What exactly are you doing here now in Philadelphia?
We've been working in mostly block organization, and basically it's been, we've done a large variety of things. A lot of it started with knowing people on a very intimate, unprofessional basis and learning of their problems, some of the problems they have. And if you get one person with an individual problem, and you can bring people together who have the same problem, like a housing problem, or a problem with being on public assistance and not getting enough money, if you can focus those into into a group that can work towards them, I really firmly believe that it's both good for the individuals and it also helps to solve the problem more quickly.
Why are you doing this work here and now?
One of the big things was going south to Montgomery, Alabama last year, around the time of the Selma to Montgomery March, which was a very moving experience. And it kind of gives some life to any vague ideas you might have about the way society ought to be or what rights people ought to have.
What do you think you're achieving by this?
One person complaining about the way that the Department of Public Assistance treats her is not heard. Yet if you have a group, as we do, of mothers who are trying to find ways and who feel the support of being together in a group, then people are much more willing to express their feelings about it.
What does it feel like as a white person living in a predominantly Negro neighborhood?
I think I was very self-conscious about it at first. I'm a lot less so now because I have some very good friends here. I noticed the other day, I looked at this picture of me that had been taken of me sitting on the street with a bunch of kids and a fellow, we were all just sitting around, and I was kind of really taken back by the fact that I was this white face in the midst of all this, because I don't think of it like that when it's good. Every once in a while you do get reminded that you're really an outsider, that you're really white, and that you're really distrusted because you're white.
How have you been socially accepted in this area?
Well, people are used to seeing us around. Most people are pretty clear on what we're doing. We're not, like one night I spent about 2 hours trying to explain to someone that I was not a spy. He said, you've got to either be a student or a spy. And, I don't know if I ever explained it to him, but most people are used to it. And we have some very close friends. And we live in some ways, very, very much on exactly the same basis everyone else does, playing in the water and in the streets and drinking beer on the porch.
Dwight, how do you see your responsibility in this job?
Anyone who does this kind of work has a huge responsibility. I mean, to think that you can go in and mess around with other people's lives in a way that you think is, you really have to decide at some point that you maybe know what's good for a person a little bit, though I don't like doing that at all. And the minute that you try and get people involved in something that they're not immediately ready to get involved in, or the minute you try and get them to take some kind of action, they can get pretty, they have taken a risk on your say-so to some extent. And if you're going to have people expose themselves to you, show you what their life is like and what some of their problems are and some of what their strengths are, if you're going to have them trust you, you've got a huge responsibility to do it with an absolute seriousness and real commitment. I mean, you can't mess around with this kind of stuff.
For Darrell, one of the most important things has been to encourage the 3800 block of Mellon Street to fight for themselves. At this block meeting, the men from City Hall are explaining what can be done about the proposed play lot.
This is a self-help program that the city does in cooperation with the citizens, and we, by necessity, have to move very slowly. I wish we could be able to just come in and put in the playground, but we just don't have the resources.
Yeah,
and we're working with a number of community groups.
Not a whole lot's been done, we haven't heard from you. And it's just, well, I guess maybe it does have to go slow, but, if you'd gotten out here, these ladies are pretty eager to make plans, and getting the fence up and some things they want to do themselves.
Let's go ahead and make the plan.
We have to get the lot leveled off first. We can move it
Well, this is basically the reason for the meeting this evening. This is a cooperative measure where we work with you toward designing the lot. This is what we hope to do this evening. And at that time, we can set up a work schedule as to how the city can come in and work with you, setting up work phase where you can have the older teenagers, the women where they can help, the men of the neighborhood come out and work with our city crew. Certainly the city will handle the major excavation, the leveling. We'll handle any concrete work that has to be done.
Things are going fairly well in Mellon Street, but Mrs. Charlotte Davis is block captain of the 700 block of Union Street. I asked her what success she is having in getting things done.
Some things we're getting done, but right now everything is at a standstill. Our people are still a little bit forsaken. Our neighborhood is going down so badly.
Why do you think that is? What's the reason for it?
Well, I think the reason is that our people don't have enough interest in the neighborhood to try to keep it going. And that our children really don't have enough activities to really keep them busy and interesting. Our children seem to be going through a phase of trying to destroy, I think, more or less.
I've heard that the kids in your area are organized into gangs. Is that so?
Yes.
What effect does this have?
It's a terrible effect because the smaller children know some of these boys and they've known them for quite a number of years, you know. And they seem to admire some of these children, some of these boys now who are going into gang fighting. I'm afraid that truly this group of boys that Dal and Dwight did organize, I think they are going to turn into a gang.
Why do you think that will happen?
Because, listen, Vista's here. They're getting ready to leave. This will be such a letdown to our people and to these boys. They will have nobody to go along with them and try to show them the right thing after this.
Aren't you going to be able to do it yourself?
I will not be able to handle all of these boys, no.
Isn't there
What I can do, I will be glad to do. But these boys need men, someone who is interested. We do not have men on our block who are interested. In fact, we do not have a block where there's men, husband and wives are living together. On our block, there's mostly women, and they're the head of their families. There are no husbands in the home.
Darrell Lewis is still only 19, and his home is in suburban San Francisco. He was studying anthropology at Berkeley, but the combination of 30,000 other students and a desire to do some practical work led him to leave after a year. He was not satisfied with study. He wanted to do something more positive and directly concerned with people. He now feels that he learns more about anthropology than he ever did at university. So, as a college dropout, he decided to join Vista. This has given him the opportunity to learn from and to teach in the neighborhood where he now lives. He thinks that it is tremendously important not to be an outsider when you are working with people to try to improve conditions in the area. I asked Darrell whether he had become accepted in the area where he has lived for the past 10 months.
Well, you know, it all very much depends on your personality, just like anywhere. You know, a lot of places, anywhere you go, you make friends with some people and you can work with them. You can do things together. You can go swimming together. Some people you can't. Some people I have a very hard time communicating. And a lot of, you know, once you make an outreach towards someone, you do this through your personality, and you build a relationship on this basis. And any other way is sort of professional or forced. Isn't really the way I could do it. You know, I don't have the techniques in the back of my mind of how I'm going to reach out and what I'm going to say to a person when I go up to the door. Some people accept me. Some people, it takes them a while to get to know me. You know, it has always taken me a while to get to know people. So it varies, just how friendly they are, how friendly I may feel at that time.
What sort of thing do you say to them when you go up to the door?
Well, standard line is, my name's Darrell Lewis, and I'm a Vista volunteer. Usually,
I don't go to anyone right off and just say, well, how may I help you today, you know, or something like this. That's sort of stupid. As you start to know people, and this was the big thing when we first moved here. We didn't start right off working. We just we had a few activities and a few people we were introduced to right away, and as we got to know them, we tried to work out things that they want to do together. Then you meet more people, and it just sort of expands that way.
How do you feel living as a white person in a predominantly Negro neighborhood?
Well, for a long time, and still occasionally, you sort of realize that it's a terrible thing to know what color you are. You feel the color of your skin, and it's not a very healthy feeling. And I don't like it, and I don't see how anyone could.
Darrell, at your age, why didn't you go off and join the Peace Corps and see the world, instead of joining Vista and just seeing your own backyard?
Because at my age, the Peace Corps probably wouldn't have taken it. You usually have to have a degree, and I wasn't too interested in the Peace Corps as a whole. I've been overseas before, and, well, I'm just a little bit wary of what the Peace Corps represents abroad. I'm not quite sure just how legitimate it is in a lot of countries, and I'm just not sure that I'm ready to represent this country overseas in any fashion.
Back here at home,
yeah, where I'm interested.
Do you think that the work you're doing is helping to win this war on poverty?
This war on poverty is sort of like a big cloud, you know. It's everywhere, and you never can take an inventory and see how you stand. Maybe some economists could, but you don't know if it's going to be won. You just know that maybe something's getting a little bit better somewhere.
Have things changed in this area since you've been here?
I think the people are, you know, some of the people around here are starting to have more of a voice. It's going to take a lot more work and a lot more blocks. It's block by block type work. You can't just run around and say, this is happening, you know. It's everybody get it together. It's not quite that easy.
As a part of the war on poverty, the VISTA program reaches out to people on Indian reservations, in mental hospitals, and poverty-stricken rural areas. But for Darrell Lewis and Dwight Eastman, this year in a West Philadelphia neighborhood has been the most important in their lives so far. They feel that the war on poverty can only be won in the long run by small and very personal efforts, to make people realize that if they complain about housing conditions, they won't lose their welfare money. If Darrell and Dwight are doing this, they're doing something to help.